Welcome to The Route with Russell. I'm your host, Russell Davis. Today we'll be talking about adversity. Adversity in sports is a very common thing. It's always going to be there. It's always a part of who you are. It's always going to be something you have to deal with as a player. And I think that the sooner we learn how to accept that this is always going to be a part of who we are and what we do, it becomes a lot easier to deal with. Now, there's always going to be issues. When you first start playing sports, no matter what it is, you always have small problems. Small problems with small consequences. Oops, I missed my block, so therefore that guy made a tackle. But as the game progresses and as you grow as a player and as you grow as an individual, those small problems now become larger problems because now you're starting to climb the food chain. Now more is expected of you. When you were young, there wasn't much expected of you. Just go out, have a good time, enjoy yourself, which is always the focal point of any sport. But as you get older and you start to make that transition and you start understanding that I want more from this game, I want more from what I'm doing, then you start to put more and more pressure on yourself. Coaches put pressure on you, parents put pressure on you. So those small problems with small consequences in the beginning are now larger problems, are larger consequences, because now missing that block may be the difference between getting a scholarship and not getting a scholarship. Those are always the things that you're going to be dealing with as a player. And it's never going to go anywhere no matter what sport you play. As long as you continue to strive to be excellent and to do your best at what you're doing, you are always going to be met with adversity. But it's how we deal with it as players that I think is really the big outcome, or that is the big issue of how do you deal with your problems. I mean, do you go out there because you got a bad call from the referee, you didn't agree with it? Are you going to argue and forget that, this game is bigger than me? I'm a part of a bigger team issue. We are trying to win a game. So me arguing with a referee about a call, I may get myself put out the game. I may not like what he said. I may disagree with him, but guess what? That's part of the game. It's never going to be perfect. And it feels like sometimes you take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, but you have to keep going. You have to keep grinding. You can't worry about, the coach is yelling at me, the referee made a bad call, it's a hostile crowd. All those things are part of what it takes to be successful and what it takes to make it to the next level. Every level, and as I talk and as I go through each episode, you're always going to hear me talk about the next level. Then how do you get to the next level? What's the route that you take to get to the next level? And as I stated earlier, it starts out with small problems, small consequences, but as we grow and we get bigger and we get stronger and faster, more is expected of us. When you become the player that you're striving for, that your coaches believe that you can be, now there's more put on you. Now there's more. We need more out of you. Okay, you made a block, but now we need you to do a little bit more. Now you need to get that defensive lineman. You need to get to the linebacker. You need to make that basket. You need, even though you got fouled, guess what? You still need to finish the basket and get a 3-point play. If you're going for a dig, you got to make those plays. So that is the adversity that we deal with as athletes. And as we grow, you have to be thankful. You have to embrace that, and you have to accept it and say, if I want to be a great player, if I want to be the person that I want to be and that I know I can be, you have to take those things in at all times and be thankful. Be thankful, because without your adversity, you don't become the player that you are. You don't become the person that you are. If you go through life and everything's easy and it's handed to you and it's beautiful and it's sweet, you never understand who you are. You never find out who you are as an individual, because you don't know how strong you are until strength is your only option. And you would be amazed at some of the things that you can do. I mean, I can tell you a story that when I was in high school, I was benched my junior year on defensive line, and that was probably my absolute favorite position to play. I loved that more than playing offensive line. I was playing against a team, and I was just getting my butt kicked up and down the field. Coach would come to the sideline in between timeouts, halftime, and he's just like, listen, what's going on the right side? And, nobody really wanted to say anything, and then finally they saw what was going on, and they were like, Russell, come here, let me talk to you. You're not getting it done. I'm going to give you a few more opportunities to try to get this. And if it doesn't work out, we're going to have to sit you down. And that's something that's very tough the first time that you hear somebody say you're not getting your job done. You're not doing what's asked of you, so therefore we're going to replace you with someone else. That was a bitter pill to swallow. At the time, I thought my entire world was ruined. Like, I'm never going to play football. These coaches are never going to see me if I'm not on the field. I have to be on the field. How do I get back out there? So now you start getting into this panic mode. But, thankfully, I played offensive line as well, and I was having a good game on offense. So sometimes, even when you're having problems, and if you do get benched, when you do get your opportunity to get back in, let's say, hey, you know what? I'm not having a great scoring night, but I know I can pick it up on defense. I can go out there and grab rebounds. I know I'm not scoring. I'm not making the plays that I need to right now, but you have to find another way to get the job done. You have to find another way to help your team, because at the end of the day, the team goal is bigger than your individual pride. You're playing to win a game. You're playing to move on to the next round of the playoffs. Whatever it is, you have to keep pushing through that. You have to find something that is at the end of the tunnel. You have to see that light, because if you start getting down on yourself mentally, you can be your own worst enemy. You start telling yourself, well, I missed that last shot, or, I messed up last time we called this play. I didn't make the block when this guy was lined up here. And, man, she's just killing me on the other side of the net. Everything I try to spike, she's sending it back at me. You just have to keep pushing through that, and you have to find ways to get it done. It doesn't matter. I mean, you sometimes you go sit down and you have to talk to your coach, and it's like, what are you seeing? Like, please help me with this. Like, I'm having a hard time. And if you've got a good coach and people that are there to support you, they're going to help you through it. But it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to be embarrassed of, because every player, every athlete is going to go through it. And it's not just in sports. It's in your everyday life. People that you work with, people that you are around, there are going to be things, and there's going to be things that pop up that you're just like, that was so unexpected. How do I deal with that? And you can't let that rattle you or put you in a bad mood and make your day bad, or make your game go bad, or make your work environment bad, because those are things that are always going to happen, and we have to be able to find a way to get through it. And I will keep saying this, and I'm speaking from my own experiences, to be thankful. I know it's hard when you're 16, 17, 18 years old and you're getting your butt kicked, or you missed a shot, or you didn't play as well as you could have played. To be able to take that in, self-evaluate yourself and say, what did I not do? What is it that this person did better than me? Why was I not able to block this person? Why was I not able to score on them? So you don't look at it as a negative. It's something that you all are always going to be challenged with when it comes to sports. So you have to find your niche. You have to find out what happened. How do I grow from that? And I mean, another prime example for me would be in college. I had what I feel was a really good career in college and playing at the University of North Carolina. My senior year, I got hurt. I had a really bad high ankle sprain. And to be honest with you, I was in a very dark place for a little while. And I say that very cautiously, because it wasn't as bad as it sounds. But when I got hurt, I just felt like everything that I had worked for up until that point, my senior year, like, man, you got hurt your senior year. You got a high ankle sprain. Are you going to be able to bounce back from this? All this work that I've put in, everything that I've done up to this point, you feel like has just been flushed down the drain. And you begin to freak out, because you're like, I'm hurt. I got to get back on this field. Am I letting my teammates down? Am I letting my coach down? But those are things that happen. And I think the best thing for me was my senior year getting hurt, because when I was rehabbing and going through that, it taught me a resilience that I didn't think that I had. A high ankle sprain is something very serious. You're talking about a 4 to 6 week injury if you do everything right and you're rehabbing and there's no setback. So you're talking about half the season I was going to miss my senior year. And it was just, I just could not accept that. So I was in the weight room. I was in the training room, constantly pushing myself. Like, I have to get better. I have to get this healed, because I wanted to get back on the field. That taught me a lot about myself as an individual, because I didn't think that I was going to be able to come back. When I heard 4 to 6 week injury and it's week 3, it's like, are you serious? Like, I'm going to miss my entire senior year. These coaches are in the stands, and when they come talk to people, they're going to be like, well, he's hurt and he's injured. So I had to really push through that, and it was something that really had me upset with myself. I was disappointed that I got hurt, but that's part of the game, and I had to remind myself of that. I had to remind myself that, hey, this is part of the game. How you bounce back from this is going to be just as important as everything you've done up to this point, because coaches understand when they come see you and they're talking to you, they understand injuries happen, but where's your head at when they talk to you? Are you down? Are you hanging your head? Are you moping? Oh, I'm never going to be back. So those are things that you have to learn to push through. You have to be able to overcome those things and to rise above that. And to even go into another issue was when I was in the professional leagues. And I think this may hit home a lot more for people as they listen. My rookie year, when I was with the Chicago Bears, I was drafted in the second round. I was sitting on top of the world, at least I thought. And I went out there and I'm starting. I'm like, oh my God, I'm starting in the NFL. I think I'm doing great, and everything is just riding and everything is going the way I want it to go. And then it didn't really go the way I thought it was going. Coaches had a different idea. They came to me and they said, look, Russell, we're going to have to make a change. These last 8 games, you've been kind of just hit a wall. You haven't really excelled the way we thought you were. So I was put on the bench. I was coming off the bench, so I went from being a starter to now I'm a backup. And that was just very difficult to deal with, to go from being a starter and you're on the field, and when they call you, hey, starting defense, get up here. I was no longer a part of that. So now I had to find a new role. And to be honest with you, I did not handle it well. After I was benched and I was demoted to second team, I was like, this is not happening to me. Why is this happening to me? I was like, I'm better than this. That guy that's in front of me is not better than me. And so instead of trying to find ways to get better and get back on the field, I started looking for people to blame. I started looking for excuses. I started looking for reasons why, other than looking in the mirror and saying, Russell, this is self-inflicted. You were out there. You had an opportunity to start for 8 out of 16 games. You had to prove yourself. So instead of getting better, I got worse. It went from coming off the bench as a second teamer to now all of a sudden there were games that I didn't even dress. I'm just on the sideline in sweatpants and a jacket or a T-shirt, whatever, depending on what the weather was. And that was something very humbling, and it was very sad for me. I kind of went through a situation and a time where I felt like, man, is my game over? I just got here and I don't even know. And now I went from starting to a backup. Now I'm not even dressing out. And then at the end of the season, they made the call to say, you know what, Russell, we worked with you. We tried. We thought that maybe that would light a fire under you by getting benched, but it didn't seem to light a fire. So I got fired. And it was very difficult to deal with. It was very painful because I was a young man, fresh out of college. I had a fiance. I had to come home, and I'm telling my fiance I just got fired. So now that's even more stress. Now you got adversity at home because now you have to prove, hey, listen, everything is going to be okay. But for me, I'm glad that happened, and I can look back on that now, and I can say it was a good thing for me because when I got picked up by the Cardinals, I was here for 6 years, and I started all 6 years that I was here. Being on the bench was never an issue because I learned from that. Now, that first year, I didn't think I was going to make it through. I did not think I was going to get picked up by another team. I had my mother calling me. My fiance was talking to me, and she was just like, it's going to be okay. And people were trying to pick me up, but it started with me. I had to believe that I was better. I had to believe that I was going to get another opportunity to show the world what I could do. And that opportunity came in the form of the Cardinals picking me up. And I think once I realized that this is my opportunity, that you may not get another opportunity, I just hit the ground running, and I was out there like my hair was on fire. I played every down like that was the last down of the game. It was just so much stuff that I learned from being released and being fired that I think it did make me a much better player. It made me a better person. It taught me what I could deal with, what I couldn't deal with, what I thought I could deal with. So those things were difficult for me, but it taught me and it made me a better man. It made me a better player. So when you go through adversity, it's not as bad as you think. I know when you're going through it, you feel like it's the end of the world. Like nobody understands. Like there's coaches in the stands and they're watching me, and now I'm in a slump. So I'm letting my teammates down. The coaches are watching, and I'm out here fumbling the ball. I've had 2 fumbles. I can't hold on to the ball. I'm missing blocks. So all these things start to get into your head, and you just make it worse for yourself. A lot of the times you made a mistake. That's all it was. You don't have to get down on yourself. You made a mistake. You need to move on. You have to be able to pick yourself up and you have to move on. You can't start thinking about, well, what about this? Well, I made this mistake. You have to get past that. You have to move on to the next play. You have to move on to what's next for you to do, because the longer you sit and you dwell on that last play, guess what? Now you're going to make a mistake this play. Now you got 2 plays you're worrying about that I made mistakes on. Believe me, your coach is going to let you know when you get to the sideline, you made a mistake. So you don't need to get down on yourself. You're going to hear it in the crowd. Crowd is going to boo. They're going to be like, oh, come on, we got to get better. We got to do better. So you being down on yourself only makes things worse. I mean, in order to get through this adversity, I think part of it is mental and a part of it is physical. When you're going through an adverse situation, whatever it may be, missed free throws, to tie the game, missed field goal, whatever it is, you need to understand that first it's mental. So you have to get out of your own head and you have to know, hey, I've missed shots before. I've missed field goals before. I've missed tackles. You have to get past that. And you have to say, this next play, I'm not going to make that mistake. And then you also have to look at yourself and say, physically, what am I not doing? Am I not using my hands properly? Am I not in the right position with my body? What exactly is going on that's allowing me to mess up like this? Because those are things that you need to understand is if you're going through the game that, hey, I made a mistake. Why did I make that mistake? Okay, this is why I made that mistake. I learned from that mistake. Now I need to move on and get better. I can't allow that to keep happening, because the more I allow that to happen, then the coaches are going to lose faith in me. My teammates are going to lose faith in me. The fans are going to lose faith in me. And then next thing you know, you're going to find yourself on the bench, then coming off the bench, and then maybe not playing at all. So those were things that I learned and that I've seen throughout my career with sports and how you can mentally affect yourself. It's not even people outside of you. It's you in your own head saying, oh, I don't know. And gosh, I thought I did the right thing. So you have to stop getting in your own head and you have to move past that. And the only way that you're going to have success is that you have to lean back on times in your life where you made mistakes, where you didn't think you'd get through it and you made it through, because those are going to be the mental moments where you have to reach back and say, well, I remember when I made that mistake 2 or 3 weeks ago or last year or 2 years ago. I made a mistake and I had fumbles, but guess what? I learned. I held on to the ball. So now I made that mistake, but I know I can get through it. I've been here before. This is nothing new. I'm stronger than this and I'm a better person than that. So it basically just comes down to how resilient you are and how resilient you are with your mind, how resilient you are with your body. You can't be worried about things that are outside of your control. If you work out all off season, you're putting in all the time and the effort and everything you need to do, and then in the first game you get hurt, you have to realize that injuries are a part of our sport. No matter what you play, whether it's softball, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, whatever it is, injuries are a part of it, and you can never doubt that, well, man, I put in all this work and it's just people are out to get me. Nobody's out to get you. You got hurt, something happened, but you have to build on that. You have to get bigger. You have to get stronger mentally and physically. Those injuries happen. And so when you have those injuries, it hurts. It's painful, not only physically, but then you start to doubt yourself. So I just kind of really wanted to touch on that as far as adversity and just give you some examples of things that have happened in my life and that I feel that helped me become a better player. When I got hurt, when I got benched in high school, and then I got to college, and then I had an injury, and then I had to overcome the injury. And then when I got to the NFL, my first year, I thought I had it all figured out, and I go out there and it's like, well, you know what, Russell, you're not getting it done. We're going to sit you down. Now you're not going to play. Now we're going to cut you. So had I stayed in that slump, had I kept feeling sorry for myself, had I just kept being like, well, I'm never going to get it, nobody's ever going to pick me up, my dreams would have never came true. Things are never going to go exactly the way you want them to go. So you always have to be prepared. You always have to say, what route do I take next? Okay, I went to the right, that didn't work. I have to go to the left now. I have to go straight. You have to find a way to get it done, because adversity is part of life and it's a part of sports. And it's something that I wish that there was some class that you could just teach and tell people like, hey, it's okay. You're going to be fine, but you have to go through it and you have to deal with it and you have to learn that it is okay and that it is going to get better. As long as I keep my head down and I work hard, I know this is going to get better. And that's how you mentally affect yourself. Once you can get yourself mentally into a right space, then everything else just falls into line. But the hardest thing is to get outside of your own head, to get out of your own head and say, listen, I made a mistake. Things haven't been going well for me this week or this season or whatever the case may be, but I know I'm better than this. I have to keep working. I have to keep grinding. So I guess to end it all and to say, I guess I would leave you with one word: resilience. And that's what you need in order to get out of these slumps, in order to get past the adversity that life and the sports are going to throw at you. And it's something you shouldn't be afraid of. It's part of what we do, and it's always going to be there. And just trying to be the best player that you can be, and understanding that adversity is always going to be a part of games and a part of your life. So don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. Thanks for tuning in to The Route. Don't forget to subscribe and connect with us on socials for exclusive updates. We'll see you next week.